people really enjoy like following ideas and like ideals and stuff, but it and I think like everything like love uh, is based on an ideal. Everything we do about love, the way we our work ethic is based on an ideal that's not realistic to who we are. And yeah, it's weird. We live this life that's really separated from like pretty much all our basic desires, and then so we like have an idea and then we try to reshape it and direct it back to our original desires instead of just satisfying those original desires, which is really weird. It's like a roundabout way of living how we're meant to live. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this guy in the bar yesterday and it was really crazy because it's like he was like yelling like crazy, and he was saying all these jokes, like these really. He was like 50 years old, and he was saying all these immature jokes, and he said like 500 jokes, and none of them were funny. And he
Is an oldish guy. He said
he's probably like 50,
50.
but
Yeah.
he had like one of those Havana hats on or whatever it's
Mm.
called, and like the one that the mathematician guy used to wear. I forgot what his name is. Poincare, something like that. Poincare, conjecture guy. But he was like saying all these jokes, and he did this weird thing, dude. This may go off topic, but I just thought it was really
We're
interesting.
not even on topic yet, so it's fine.
Okay, okay. Um, he did this thing that I've noticed that people do, and I just found it really fascinating. It was like for like 30 minutes straight. He was talking to the woman across from him, and he was kind of being flirty with her, but he was like, you know what, you know what? He just came up with this idea. Like the conversation started slowing down, and he said, you know what? I have this great idea. I'm gonna take you golfing. You've never been golfing, right? And she's like, no, I've never been golfing. And he's like, oh my God, I've got to take you golfing. You know what? Tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow. Oh, it's gonna be so great. I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna pick you up. Bring your A game. I'm gonna get, dude. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. And he kept doing that continuation
Or did it
of.
work? Did she agree?
She agreed, but she kept agreeing
And how
because
old was the woman?
about his
Oh, that
age.
that makes sense. That makes sense. I was thinking.
They,
I was in
they,
my head. I was thinking younger for some reason. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they were in the same. She's probably a little younger. They were in the same like pack or whatever. They were like at the same table, but it was just like this, almost like he had a fear of the conversation ending, and so he
Mm.
got like conversational loop where he just kept mentioning a topic, and then he didn't know how to get out of it because he was like, I don't know, like the anticipation was more exciting. Like it was almost like an algorithm. It was like, if this is more exciting, then continue with this. If something else comes out that's more exciting, go to that. And he could never
So,
get out of like that algorithm.
so do you think his
Like,
object? Do you think his objective was to get a date with the woman, and he was just going like a long way around?
I think he was, but I didn't understand why he kept. I've seen people do that where they'll mention a thing they're gonna do and they'll bring it up and then they'll keep doing it and then very likely they'll never do it. Like in the morning, likely like they just won't go golfing. But he was describing all these little things that they're gonna do, and and it sounded so boring too. It sounded like it wasn't even an exciting thing, and he kept adding details to like what he was gonna do with her at the golf thing, and he just kept like creating this like storyline that probably was the longer the storyline happened, it just the more ridiculous it sounded, and the more it sounded like it was just never gonna happen because you just got satisfied by telling the story, and it's almost like the fantasy itself is enough, and like now you're not gonna do it. It's it was really strange,
No, no, that is strange.
and then the waitress came out, and after he was saying all these things he was gonna do with this woman about golfing, which I don't even think she was interested in. Like she didn't look
Well,
like the type.
well,
She was
maybe.
saying,
So go on.
but no, no. But the then the waitress comes out, and then he grabs her like by the shoulder like a man. He grabs her by the shoulder, and he's like, Oh, let me tell you something. You're doing great things. You're gonna be great. And
It
he's
sounds
like,
like he's on drugs, to be honest.
that's
But
yeah.
but,
Well,
I think maybe it's a little bit of like I think what men get off the most after sex is the idea of showing their passion to a woman. Look at me, I'm waxing down my car. Look at me, I'm reading a book. Whatever it is you do, you sort of want to do that in front of a woman to then have your passion sort of. It's like I'm kind of terrible for it myself. Like obviously, with me being a big film fan, I'm always showing my girlfriend film clips. But what I'm secretly saying is, look how cool I am for knowing about these film clips what nobody else knows about. That's what I'm secretly saying. That's sort of my love language. So I guess he might be doing that a bit. Like the only thing he can think of is got. But the difference is between him and I is that I wouldn't talk about my passions to somebody until they really got to know me. But he must just be going for it straight out the gate. I guess we're going into topic now, aren't we? This we can start now. We're talking about relationships and love. I probably should introduce you first.
sorry, what?
I probably should introduce you.
Sure.
It'd be a good idea. I'm gonna go about it the long way. Um, do you want to go off your first name or do you want to go off both names? Because you've got like a double first name,
Uh,
haven't you? Like for your surname,
yeah, my original name was Pavel Gorovizinkiewicz,
which would have been very cool if you kept that.
and then blah blah blah. That's like all, and then the other words actually don't translate to English. I think one is Igor. So Igorovich just becomes Igor. I don't think you can translate the rest to English. Um, and then I came here, and then they tried to give me the most American name, so they gave me John Cameron Glenn,
That
and
sounds
I
good
didn't
now.
so long. I didn't even know what he did, and I still think I get it wrong that he like was the first man in outer space to orbit the moon.
John Cameron. I like it
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've got an American name because my middle name is Wayne. So my name, Aaron Wayne Thompson, is quite
yeah, yeah,
American, and I was named after Elvis. But because on Elvis's kit bag, his
yeah,
name was spelt wrong, so my parents decided to spell Aaron like how it was spelt on the kit bag. Because
yeah,
my name, if I think the actual spelling of my name, if you was to sound it out, is like Aaron,
yeah.
but it's Aaron, and then obviously the Wayne. So yeah, but I used to hate it when I was younger, being called Aaron Wayne Thompson. But now as I'm older, it's kind of got like that writery feel, that sort of like filmmakery feel. So I'll take it. Well, yeah, I should say. So you were a viewer of the channel. I find it weird to say subscriber. Um, that's just my working class roots. Like I've never really put myself above anybody. So to ever think of myself like on a platform like um. So I usually follow everybody who follows me back unless they're selling drugs or something like that. And the first thing I noticed was when I actually first saw your work, which we should say is like combined science and art. I actually didn't know it was somebody I was following. I thought it was like a suggested thing.
Yeah.
And then I kept watching, and then the next time I thought, this is really good. Have you taken this work and used it as like you're just like showing somebody else's work?
Yeah.
Because you get like a lot of people like clip other things. So I thought, oh,
Yeah.
is this like a clip channel? And then when I realized it wasn't, I was like, this is really interesting. And when I spoke to you, because I thought you were doing this on purpose, but when I spoke to you and you're combining science and art and you're doing it in a way which is avant garde and you're doing it in a way which is already up there with some of the great avant garde filmmakers, it's like, I found that really interesting. And I think it was on one of the days I just decided to message you. I'm like, I've got to meet this guy. And then yeah, we had like I think like a 7 hour conversation. It was a long
Yeah.
conversation, which is one of those beautiful things where I genuinely do believe. I think you agree as well that as you go through life, you just end up you have these rare moments where you meet somebody you really connect with, who is sometimes on a different side of the pond, as they call it, and you just have these yeah, you don't, as you sort of said at the beginning, like you don't agree with all my points in the book, but there's still that like there's still like an understanding.
Appreciation of.
If you, yeah, it's like 'Cause I think about it myself, like when I read like an author's body of work, like say if he's got 15 books, he or she, 7 of them I might not even like, but
Yeah,
I can like appreciate them, and then or I can be like, oh, I understand what they were trying to do. Um, and I think that's what by the way, I didn't have this with you. I actually everything you were saying, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I sort of agree with everything this person's saying, and you're also one of those people where I understand what you're saying before you've even said it.
yeah.
Not all the time, but it's just like your wave of thought. I understand. So yeah, this is kind of why I wanted to do this channel in the first place. This is why I wanted to. This is why I've been getting my art out there a lot more because I've never really done social media. It is to connect to people like yourself, really, because I do believe there's because you're as good as artist as anybody I've seen, uh,
Like,
and it's because and it's literally down to the fact you don't know you're really doing it or you're not trying to do anything. And I'm a big believer in the platforms you see in front of you. This is going into a whole other topic, but we're supposed to be starting. We're supposed to be talking about love and relationships. I should say as well. This is a long introduction. That's another thing. What I was instantly kind of drawn to you. You were one of the first guys what I spoke to who could have a good conversation on romance and relationships because, as I said to you before, when you usually speak to a guy, there's some macho bullshit, or there's this thing where you can't be vulnerable about women around other guys, and you had a good opinion. You respected women, but you also saw problems in them. You respected guys, but you also saw problems in them. And I think that's extremely important when we face dating. It's not like us versus them. It's like we're all kind of in this together. So that's also what kind of maybe want to make this video as well.
I was raised by women. I think the whole argument of uh, like I had brothers, but I never really talked to them in that way, which is good actually, because I think more people don't realize that like being raised by a single mom actually can really benefit your outlook on it. May be like most of these guys that have like both parents, but they're struggling with their relationships. It's like maybe you should have been raised by a single mom or two lesbian
Yeah.
women, and women better because it's like you see 50-year-olds like that guy who like don't realize like that like when they're grabbing someone that person is absolutely playing them, or that they're just trying to do it for appeasement or being polite, and they just don't have the real basic like uh they don't have like senses like for the thing that's right in front of them. Like they may be really logical, but they're not really good at like seeing a situation in the moment for what it is. Maybe they can go and analyze a moment through a screen or something, or like watching and being very analytical, but some people are really not good. It's almost like improv empathy or something like that. It's something weird like that. And I think like you have to be raised by women to be able to do that, because you'll have a lot more. I feel like stability can be really good, but it can also be really boring and not lead you into any kind of development. So like I think that's like you have the most development if you have a crazy girlfriend. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
You come out the most wiser and the most like now knowing a lot more about how the world works.
Yeah. It's kind of like you got to have that crazy girlfriend to then not date a crazy girl again.
Yeah. Which is, when people are like, I hate it when people say to people about uh women, there's this like idea that like first off, if you try to critique someone, they think you either like hate them or that you're wrong, like that you're the problem. And that's really just ego. Like people will fight back with just insults and stuff if you ever try to critique them. But one of the weird things is that like people judge a lot of people that have been through hard shit, which is really really strange. And there's so much irony packed into it. Like I can't be with somebody that has been through a lot, or I can't be with somebody because they call them used up or whatever, or crazy or something like that, or they're broken in the head and they're never. And it doesn't make any sense because it's it just says that like if you are strong enough, then you should be okay with being with somebody that has gone through a lot of stuff. But also you should. It says a lot about you that you're not really comfortable in yourself. I guess I don't really know how to describe it, but it's these weird ideas that I don't know how they came to exist, but they did, and they're being and like these ideas were created by people who are like 18 who haven't experienced anything, and then like 50-year-old people are like, yeah, or 30-year-old, 40-year-olds are like, yeah, that's a great ideology, and it was made by like a 17-year-old
Well,
lying.
I think it's because those relationships from like 14 to 18, I think, are actually the most important because it's the first time you're sort of seeing a woman. It's the first time you're with a woman. So I think that window of like how I loved my first girlfriend is completely different to how I love my current girlfriend. It's sadly not as powerful. It's just not. It's different, but it's just not as powerful because the first time there was this romance of I'm a kid, this is my first relationship, and there's more at stake. 'Cause this is all I had. I didn't really have much going in my life, so there's more at stake. And I just couldn't really believe my luck. And as you get older, you don't really appreciate it as much when you start dating. So I think everything what I learned when I was from about 14 to 18, I still use to this day when it comes to relationships. It's just like little things what have happened, sometimes little problems. Um, for example, I obviously these are all personal to me, and other people have different relationship goals. But I had a lot of problems with gifts when I was younger, like buying gifts for people. There was a few relationship arguments about it. So then when I started dating, it was very interesting that I made sure I sort of dated girls who didn't really care about gifts because it wasn't one of my values to give a gift to a woman on her birthday. So I'm all for buying gifts throughout like the year, like here and there, whenever. But I'd buy a gift in my first relationship for her birthday, but it was never enough. Like she just wanted like completely spoiling on her birthday, and it always made me feel weird that she would completely go off me and shut me down if I didn't buy her the correct gift. So um as I've got older, I'm sort of using an example. When I dated somebody when I was like 20 or 21, if they ever flagged up gifts, I sort of saw this, I guess, as my own little grey area. I tried to sort of steer away. So all the things what I kind of didn't like in my first relationship, I've made sure I don't really have anymore in my current relationship. So it's like the girl I'm dating now does not care about gifts at all. Like that's obviously other people in relationships might disagree and they might actually need the gifts. But yeah, that's what I'm sort of saying, that the everything from that young period that I learned and then I took into later life. And if you didn't have that period when you're 14 to 18, I think you just start it whenever you start dating. You start dating at 20, then from 20 to maybe 24, you have to sort of maybe learn those steps.
Do you think that maybe it's a little bit of escaping, adapting to like your environment, and you're trying to get your environment to adapt to you by choosing the, or is
No,
that okay?
I think it's like I think the reason why people don't have relationships or the reason why people don't have solo relationships is you have to do a bit of a compromise. Like you have to give a bit of yourself up to like how I'm talking now. I won't talk to my girlfriend like I'll if we're going out. I'll talk to a completely different. I'll drop some of the intensity. I'll be a bit more playful and whatever. And that's actually me kind of destroying my personality a little bit because how I'm talking now is normally me, but you can't really talk to the person you're dating like this all the time because it'd be a bit much. So I have to curve that a little bit. So I think when you're in a relationship, I think you both have to curb things, but I think the problem always comes up when um, so there's this conflict. There's you didn't get me enough gifts, and at the time, I was like, I took it bad. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know you expected more. And then when I came out of it, I was like, wait, I should have stood my ground a little bit more, and I should have maybe explained my side that I got you some gifts earlier in the year. I thought we were just going to do like one gift. There was no like, I'll try again next year. But the next year, if I was to, for example, if I was to say, you know what, I'm still going to buy one gift. That's where the conflict's going to happen again because I haven't changed and she hasn't changed. So I think in order for it to work, you have to both sort of sometimes meet in the middle. But in in the first relationship, I was able to work out that it wasn't actually about the gifts because you wouldn't get annoyed at somebody for not buying gifts. The real truth is it was obviously about something else. It was about it could have been about me not going to a birthday party because it was basically all girls, and I decided not to go because I didn't want to be the only guy there. So it could be one of those. It could be a number of things. So you kind of learn that in a relationship that if somebody is being extremely like, say for example, now if my girlfriend left the fridge unplugged and all the food was destroyed, I wouldn't shout it. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, "You've made a mistake." But if I was annoyed at her already, I didn't like her, then I would use the fridge as a good excuse to kind of go at her. Because at the end of the day, I don't really think. I mean, there's a few things obviously what can end a relationship. There's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I think if you are mad at somebody in a relationship, it might not be because you might not just like them. That's the truth.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. You have to be able to like really like in any relationship. I always say it is like if somebody has like a certain type of personality trait, but I want the relationship still to work, like overall, then I won't necessarily ignore the personality trait. I'll just say it's part of their personality.
Yeah.
So it makes it as if like they can't help it. It's just part of who they are. It's not. So it's not like I'm thinking like, oh, they're doing this shit on purpose. They're doing it to irk me. They're doing it to cause problems because they love havoc. It's like, no, it's just you just consider it almost like a quirk or something that they have. Like even if it's like a really fucking annoying, like again like that guy, like the making the plan thing and probably not going through it. I've known a lot of that kind of stuff, or I've known a lot of uh, people who like do things in public on purpose to be embarrassing because different shame levels and stuff in public kind of thing, like you like to act more proper, and they like to act more of attention seeking or something, and then like doing things like that even though just but you have to decide whether you just want to like how they say like take your bad personality traits and integrate it,
Mm.
accept it, personality, you can't run away from it. You have to like sometimes you have to do that for somebody until they do it for themselves. You have to like perceive it or something, like
That,
you
that
have to create.
that's very true because I think a lot of my early issues in relationships and sometimes even now is something will come up what I don't like, and my initial reaction is, "Why the hell are you doing that to me? Why the hell are you
Yeah,
like that?" And then you realize that person doesn't even understand what they're doing, and then you have to sort of very gracefully and sort of like lead them into battle and be like, "Look, these are the things I don't like about this," and then which goes into another thing of if you're dating somebody, if you're with somebody, and you do that and they reject it, that's also a big problem because you got to be able to date somebody, and when you bring an issue up to them, they handle it, you know. Which is why, say, if you were to tell me something you don't like about me, if you was to sort of sit me down, that would worry me. If you was to go like, come in here, sit down, um, there's something I need to talk to you about. As soon as I heard those words, I'd be like, oh fuck, like what is it? But if you was to tell me just like, oh hey dude, blah 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 blah, I'd be like, oh okay. So I think there's like a tonal thing as well.
yeah,
So if I've ever got like an issue with my girlfriend, I'll make sure that I bring it up in like a I'll do it when she's driving, so she's not really focusing on it. I'll be like, I'm not like I don't want to sit her down, like, hold her hands and sit her down and be like, "You've done this," because it's quite a it's like being at school again, I guess. So
Yeah.
I think it's yeah. When you've got issues with somebody, it's good to kind of be respectful as well.
I think a point to that too is I saw a video, an add-on to that is I saw this video of this old couple sitting down, and there's like footage from a camera, like a C something V camera, whatever, and it was filming people inside of a restaurant. And I think it was real the way it looked, but if it wasn't, it doesn't matter. There were a young couple and a guy came up. He met this young lady for a date, and he had this big old thing of flowers, and he had this like really shiny plastic around the flowers, and the flowers were a little dull, but they were pretty. They had a nice variety to them. They're a little dull. The plastic was a little nicer, and he handed her the flowers, and she was like really like thankful to. They kissed and they sat down, and the old lady. There was an older couple, probably in their 80s, octogenarians, and they were like sitting behind um, them, and the lady was the first one to turn around and like be really interested and started talking to the young lady, and be like, oh, those are really beautiful, like saying these things. You could tell what she was saying because the types of conversations that
Yeah.
the other women give to younger women. And while she was having that conversation, the old man gets up and he goes, and he just goes around the corner, immediately gets up and goes, like right when they're talking, immediately, without hesitation, which is important, gets up and goes, and then comes back around and brings back a red rose. And you could tell he got it like out of one of the vases from like somewhere near the restaurant area. And it was like, I don't know how he got it, but he did that, and the rose was so bright red, and it like stood out more than anything else. You were just focused on the rose, and it was so much more beautiful and raw. And he hands it to her, and she loved it, and she got up, and she did this as in like approval, as in like that's what you should have done, and like
I do like that, and it's sweet, but at the same time, I do worry about people what are trying to do things like that to gain the love back, if you know what I mean. Like I mean that might not be like that case, but I like when Valentine's Day really worries me when I see guys really going all out on Valentine's Day.
yeah.
I just want to say to him, I just want to be like, if you have to do all this work to gain that love, this isn't really working.
Yeah. Well, but I think with the older guy, ignoring the younger, I think the older guy, I think the point is that love is better without hesitation. Love is a non-hesitatory thing. And it's like
I've made it seedy. Yeah. All right, I'm
yeah,
for it.
love should be without hesitation. It should be like instinct to be like, let me go do this. You would really like this. And then also bringing up problems in the relationship should also, real love is you'll bring up the problem immediately because it just would bother you for both of you to even suffer, for either one of you to suffer in the relationship, because you'd be so scared that the relationship would go to, be in any kind of harm. And you just like, it's the lack of hesitation that real romance happens. It's like in the moment, like it's really hard to.
Yeah, I'm following now. Ignore me. That's just me. I'm a believer of like I believe not a lot of I'm like a Ayn Rand believer of not that many people get love, not many people put themselves in situations to deserve love. So I think
Yeah.
I think only a few people actually. When you look at most couples, I don't think they actually function that well. I don't think it's true love. So I'm always looking at everything with cynicism. So like whenever anybody, like I say, if I see one of my friends buy like £400 worth of flowers on Valentine's Day, I just want to be like what? Why? What? Why do you think you need to do that? But yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's in the moment, like there's no thought, and he just did it. Interestingly, I did something quite similar, and I think that's probably why this is probably projection. Um, I was with an ex, and she was moaning that I didn't buy her flowers. So we're waiting like a bus stop, and I quickly went behind her, stole a flower, and gave it to her, and she got really annoyed at me. So I think in my head I'm projecting.
Yeah, that's opposite of what happened there. Yeah, true. It could. That's very true. Like you can try to do the right thing, and it turns out really wrong.
Mm.
It's like you too right. There is a thing that's too right.
I don't know. I don't know if this is like a thing in the States, but in definitely in England. So I'm from like the northern part of England, and in the
Yeah.
northern part of England, you could say that the women are kind of they have to be really feisty because the men are like a lot more demanding and commanding. Where in the south of England, like London, the women are more in control of the relationships. So this isn't always true. Obviously, this is just kind of like a stereotype. So in like the south, the women are in control, and in the north, the men are in control. So what's interesting is since I've met my girlfriend who's from the north, she's quite feisty in relationships. But because I'm from the north, there's like this thing, and like we're both like it's quite interesting. We're both sort of like checking each other. So it's like she'll be like, this isn't now. This is the very beginning of the relationship. She'll be um, like if you're getting me that, what you trying to manipulate? Like what do you really want? If you're getting me flowers, what are you really after? And then since I'm from the north, if she does something for me, I'd be like, wait, what are you after as well? So there's kind of like this thing where we both kind of uh, I guess are trying to work each other out. We're past all that now. Now we just like we will buy each other gifts if we're somewhere and we see something what we think the other person might like, we'll buy that gift. And then if we go out, um, we kind of just leave it to the chance, which I'm kind of I feel quite grateful for because in other relationships I didn't have this. Say if we go out to eat in like and there's like 10 restaurants to choose from,
Yeah.
we'll both just sort of walk and we'll both just be like, oh, where do you want to go? And then she'll be like, here. I'd be like, yeah, sure. Or I'd be like, there. And she's like, yeah. So there's never really been any like friction in that department. Um, but yeah, I think that issue comes out from. But going back to what I was saying, I think like coming from the north of England, I had to learn dating as like a southern girl to be a lot more stronger and like stamp my ground down. 'Cause I think southern girls are a bit more used to being in control. So I don't know if that's the same in the States. If you have like different regions where women want different things or men want different things.
Um. I. Uh. Oof. That's actually a good question. I think the women here are very, especially in my neighborhood. I try not to like be like view everyone in the same lens. But I would say the women here are very. I don't think it's materialistic. I think it's taken as materialistic. Um, okay, here let me describe it first by saying like let me tell you a small story, and this actually I think represents the idea I'm trying to say here. Is like somebody that I knew and that I knew personally, somebody passed away, and then somebody was supposed to get an inheritance, right?
Yeah,
Like big inheritance, and it was like big enough to where the rest of their life would be fundamentally like changed. Like they would be a whole bracket up, and they would be very calm. And this is not me, by the way. I'm not implying myself. Um, and their whole life would change. They would not have to stress or worry about life as much anymore. And they've worked really hard in their lives, and they were like, they felt that I guess they deserved it, which is fair. I mean, that's their view. Um, and then something happened where it was like slowly messing up, and then that person got really upset, kind of panicky, and everyone in the family of that person's family was kind of like, oh, you're very greedy, you're a very greedy person, and blah blah blah, and oh, you're very materialistic, you're very greedy. But I kind of saw that idea, that situation going on, and I kind of understood it as in like, I think it, that person is feeling a very fundamental desire to have stability in their life,
yeah,
have like calmness. And imagine like somebody promised you like that you would never, not that you would never have to work, but you would never have to like worry about paying like a bill for
Yeah.
the rest of your life. That you would never have to worry about like allowing your kids to go to college or something like that, or being able to retire. You would fight to hell, to like try to keep that. And I don't, I think the way we, I think saying it's greed is a little bit of a jealousy thing, but I
Mhm.
think that's how people perceive the women in like my neighborhood are, that, and I don't see it that way, that they walk around and they're like, oh, they just go after rich guys, and I'm like, well, wouldn't you? Who doesn't want stability in a relationship, you know? And so, but that's how I feel like they are, and I think that it doesn't actually. I I want um I think the guy needs to have uh, a woman that has a little more freedom, because when a person has a little more freedom, if they're the right kind of person, they become a lot more interesting. You ever see people that like they work a 9 to 5, and all the creativity is drowned out of them. They can't think straight. They don't get enough sleep, so their brain's been deteriorating for the last 10 years, and all their creative lobes are deteriorated, and they're just their one tracked mind, which is just like survival. But if you give someone a little bit of freedom, they start doing all these interesting things, and you get that proximity, or you get like that interesting life by proxy. Like that's why you give her the freedom. Like that's why a lot of these guys will like allow her to stay home and be like, "Don't work. I'll take care of everything. You just stay home, be creative, be interesting when I get back, and we'll have interest. You'll be able to do interesting things, and at least, and I'll get satisfaction from you, from seeing you explore yourself." And some people just get jealous, and they're like, "Oh, she's lazy. She doesn't want to work. She's just a gold digger." And I think it's a good. I think it's not.
I,
I think it's the opposite.
I completely agree. But the only deviation I have really is if that person is generally living a sad life, because I have seen that
Yeah,
in my own village as being somebody who's deliberately dated somebody with money, and their life has been extremely sad. They never leave the house. They put lots of weight on. Um, they were like really smart and they had a lot of things going for them, and then they've kind of destroyed themselves. But yeah, I completely get it, especially if you're like. I think this is why people get really, really. This is why it's a hard thing to say. People get really annoyed at attractive people. Like if you're attractive, you have a complete different life to a lot of other people. And if you are like an attractive woman, yeah, you're gonna want those freedoms. Like the thought of like an attractive woman working in like a warehouse, it just doesn't quite fit. And I'm
yeah,
sure that does happen, and you see very attractive women working fast food and etc. etc. But if you notice, they don't stay there very long. Like they're there for
yeah,
like it's like they have the period where they're working like a cafe, a restaurant, and then that's it. They just go straight to middle management or wherever. And I think yeah, they are sort of like yeah. I actually kind of do appreciate what you're saying, because I think that's a way of looking at it. That's a way of looking at this thing where people don't really look at it that way. They look at it like it's well, just very sinister and very very seedy. But
yeah.
no, because in my own life, I will fight for as much time as I can to get to do what I want to do. So like even this conversation now, I've had to do like a lot of errands today, a lot of chores. It's been quite a busy day, and I'm doing those things so I can then get to the conversation, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
I make sure that like I actively make sure that my like the life I'm living now, I would say is pretty good, and I've done everything I can to try and get that. Which even goes back into like dating, that I've made sure like this is I wouldn't say I'm particularly any better with women than anybody else. I wouldn't say I've particularly got anything else what any other guy has. But one of the things that I've always has always sort of saved me is I always know what I want in a woman or the person I'm dating. So when it comes to actually picking that person, they're also attracted to me because they can see I'm looking for them. So they can see I will wear my like I'm one of those people where, and a lot of people don't understand this, where if I'm in a bar and say somebody comes up to me, like a woman, and she's expecting me to chat her up, and this hasn't happened in a while, but when it did happen, I wouldn't, if I didn't like her there and there, I didn't think she had the values, I just wouldn't bother. I'd be friendly, but I wouldn't give her anything, and she would either get very annoyed, or she would just like go off, or just, or she'd just talk, like, trash me. But when I see somebody instantly who has the values what I'm after, which is sort of like a kindness, intelligence, whatever it is, open mindedness. When I see those traits, I don't rule that person out. I'm like, okay, this could be a possible, like, if we can use the word mate, this could be a possible mate. Like,
My drinking buddy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's where people go. People go into dating, they're like, I'm just gonna date anybody. And I think that's where the problem goes. If you know your values, you will date somebody with those values, and then your life is just like, the fact I'm dating a girl who doesn't want, to quote, for the name of the song, doesn't want diamonds, is deliberate. Like, I wouldn't want to date a girl who wanted diamonds, and that's like a deliberate choice, I guess.
that I never one thing about relationships. Maybe you have insight into this. I've always tried to figure this out. There's two relationships I never understood, but I feel like there's probably something in them that can be learned or understood and like adapted to the rest of relationships. Is women with like pimps,
Mm.
and then heroin or like crack addicted couples. I've always found that kind of stuff like really, really fascinating. Like I don't understand, because you always think like a relationship like healthy is like relative. You realize that, like, if for them like if two people are like going through um hell, they don't necessarily, like, I've seen people with like terrible relationships basically that have like lasted longer than people with really good relationships, like fundamentally. And it's not necessarily a sense of like gambling excitement that, oh, something good happens every once in a while and that makes it addictive. It's not that weird psychology shit. It's just that they actually um that's the kind of life that they want. And then so it's like their desires are right where their functionality in the relationships are. So since that matches, it doesn't matter. Like, but you can be in a really good relationship and desire something else, and next thing you know, that good relationship just kind of falls apart because you're.
I think that's because, like, real love, and when you really love somebody, it's extremely destructive. Extremely destructive. Like, you kind of wanna kill each other, and you wanna drag each other down. So, like, the thoughts of me not being with my girlfriend would be just like, it would be a disastrous thought, in the sense that, like, I don't want to say I won't be able to function, but I need her here because she helps me understand all this shit. Like, she like aids my life, and she helps me walk through this sort of stuff. So within that, there's kind of this just like destruction. So you're talking about like the junkie, that it's two people I've met who are junkies, and they're both into the same thing. They both want the same thing. They if you want, they want destruction. They don't want to live in society. They want destruction of society. They, in their own heads, they believe they've found the actual blissness of life, because obviously to a junkie, what they're doing is life. Is the most important thing they can do, and they've found each other, and they're destroying each other. They love each other, and yeah, it may seem extremely toxic, but it's like they're just sort of connected. I can't remember what your second one was. You say,
Well, like, goal is to like a lot of people's goal is to like live together, but their goal is to like die together.
well, that's what I mean. But I think you do destroy each other. I think even if you're in, so my grandparents are the best relationship I've ever seen ever. Like, they met. my grandma was being abused, and my granddad basically saved her, and then they've lived together ever since, and it's this beautiful, sweet tale. But they still destroy each other. They will have arguments, but fun arguments. They'll be like, my grandma will be like, "Why is your granddad tiling? He can't do that anymore." And then my granddad will be like, "Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's senile." So they absolutely just like destroy each other. And when I'm in my relationship, I do the same thing. I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I checked into a VIP lounge and didn't bring my girlfriend and she had to wait outside? So I'll check into a VIP lounge, she waits outside, she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I find that funny. Then when we get to the hotel, she's ordered like a takeaway for herself, like a lobster or something. I've got nothing. So it's like this that kind of like fun destruction. And I think when you are in like long-term relationships, and there is a thing as well where like when you fight in a relationship, you're kind of doing it to like renew the relationship. It's like this relationship's got a little bit stale. Let's have a fight, and then let's see if we can like mend it and if we can fix it. So I think like being an artist is the most destructive thing you can ever do with your life. One of the most destructive things. I think being in a relationship is right up there. I think you're basically destroying yourself, and I think that's what people don't understand. It's like you have to, if you having a relationship is not a great thing. It's not as it's bloody hard. Um, it comes with a lot of sacrifice, and at the end of the day, yeah, you're gonna. There's a romantic side, like I'm saying, where I couldn't picture not having my girlfriend in my life, but at the same time, it's like we're gonna destroy each other in a happy way. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna cave this house down on top of our heads. Like it's just chaotic.
Yeah, you're destroying yourselves, but in a safer way because there's two of you instead of one.
Yeah.
If you're by destroying yourself, I mean, nobody's going to be there for you if you, get drunk and vomit in your own mouth and,
But
and
but
die.
there's kind of good thing about that as well because like the thought of like if my girlfriend was to die tomorrow, I don't know what I'd do. And I think if I was to die tomorrow, I don't know what she would do. So there is this thing of like when you're by yourself, it's like that you are. It might be more lonely, but I think at the same time, it's like you're dipping out and you don't have this heavy burden on your head. Because if I was to die, if I was in hospital tomorrow, if I was about to die, I would generally be worried about my girlfriend and be like, oh, how am I leaving her? Like, am I, you know, what I mean, how am I have I set her up correctly? Is she gonna have a good life and all that sort of thing? So I think like you are always worrying about somebody else when you're in a relationship, and especially imagine if you have kids as well, you're worrying about the kids as well. So I think there can be a. I see lots of like older women who are like 60, 70, they don't have any kids, they haven't been married, and they do seem to have having a really good time. I don't know if the secret lonely in hotel rooms they might be, but they just seem to just be extremely social. They'll talk to anybody, go from country to country. Um,
I think that I got to be honest. I think that I've seen that. I actually, in a weird way, a lot of the I have a couple other houses in my family.
yeah,
And we rent them out, and the most common renter that we've ever gotten is literally like a single divorcee,
mm.
and they're plus. And so I've talked to them a lot, and I've noticed that they have this like desperation to explore, and almost out of
Like compensation because they had a relationship, they've got to go.
there's everything that they would get in a relationship into everyone else.
Yeah.
So they'll seek like sexual tension with somebody else that's younger. They'll seek good conversation with the person at the library, even at the front desk if they have to hold them hostage with a book. Um, they'll seek anything. They'll seek like the sensation of like sitting with somebody and eating by like going to a restaurant and all the booths are empty except yours, and they'll sit right next to yours. So they're like these weird little things that they'll do just to be around and kind of like create like a makeshift relationship with the rest of the world. I mean, at least that's what it seems like because I like milfs, right? Like I had a big. I think every guy, by the way, for their psychological development, has had like a milf stage.
Yeah.
If they're the women, and if you're in the guys, and maybe like the dad stage or daddy or whatever you call it, like like liking the older sex, and it's I I I think yeah, I've just noticed that especially when someone's like and if an older lady is like attracted to you and you know you have that tension between y'all, then they'll show a lot more of like their vulnerabilities
Mm.
very quickly, and they're not scared to do it, especially when they're older. They'll trauma dump, like you know, and which is like fine. Like I don't mean that in a bad way. That term, trauma dump. Um, but I think that's really what that is. Yeah, I think it's what do you call it? Yeah, I don't know. I would just say yeah, seeking a relationship with the rest of the world. I was gonna say a story about like what this woman had like sat outside and told me all about her life, and I would have never guessed it because she is such a she's like you look at her from the outside and she's like a flower child. She's like really sweet and grew up in hippie era, and then she was she's like really kind now, and but then when you get to hear about her past, it's like holy shit, got railed by like four biker guys in a single night while she like was like a 4 year old 46 or 48-year-old woman telling me how she snorted cocaine off of a thick biker's cock, or you know like some weird shit like that. Whoa, like right down to the balls. Like I was like, oh my god, you know. And at the same time she's looking at you like she wants to fuck, and you're like, it's a very erotic situation that you have to avoid.
Mm.
But but you can tell there's like this really deep desperation, almost uh not the desperation of like a kid in a candy shop like wanting like you know sugar, or like a dog with a bone. It's more of like somebody needing a hug or something. So it's really hard to sexualize that too, and everybody looks at them as if they're lacking because they can see that kind of desperation, and that's what makes it a little more. They kind of have to adapt to that and pretend to be like that independent, like, oh, I'm actually not suffering, I'm really fine, because they see that other people see them as like needing and stuff, and they're like, oh well, that's not as attractive to people, so let me be really confident, and the ones that won't see through my false confidence will be attracted to me enough to where I can satisfy my needs through them. Kind of weird thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. But I was more thinking like people what, because if there's part of me what thinks, I'm probably gonna be in this relationship probably for my life. I generally see that. I mean, you never know. And then when I'm older, I will probably go traveling and go do a bunch of other shit. Maybe I'm trying to have all my cake and eat it. Like maybe let's do the family life, and then after I'm old, I'm gonna go off. But um, yeah, I see a lot of like 6-year-old people what maybe aren't even divorced, or maybe they've never even had I have spoken to one woman. I did genuinely believe her that um she had boyfriends and things, and she'd had quite a wild life, but she never really wanted to ever get married, and she always wanted to do her own thing, and she was never able to find anybody. And then yeah, she just does her own thing now. So I think, I mean, personally, I would choose to be in a relationship than being alone if I had the option. I'm one of those people where I like to be a loner, but I like somebody there. Like I like to have no friends whatsoever, but I like to have a few. It's like I don't want 50 friends, but I need at least 2 or 3 people to talk to a day just to keep the brain ticking. Um, it's weird. I've been. I think I don't know if I'm just very critical of people in life, or I don't know if I expect a lot from people. But I just whenever I go out, I just don't like people. Like I'm looking around, I'm just like I really don't like that person. I really don't like that person. And then I look to my right, it's like my girlfriend's there. I'm like, oh, but I do like this person. So I always feel like I just have one. I need one person, and then I can be quite lonely from the rest. Like I want no big interest in with fitting in the rest. And I think a lot of people want to get into relationships so they can take the selfies, take the photos, be in these big groups, go on all these couple dates, and do all this big stuff. And I think that's a very lonely life as well. I think couple dates are one of the worst things you can ever do or go on, unless you meet a really genuine good couple. But I think that's very rare. I think they're very very weird, very very weird things.
Using people for like content,
Yeah,
as if they're like entertainer kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think isn't that like the maybe? I guess I feel like most relationships are probably like that naturally, though, right? Where
Mine isn't because I've actively sabotaged that. Like if I like we well I'm joking, but what the truth of it was that in my relationship there was sabotage coming from without to us. So people were trying to sabotage a relationship, like friends,
yeah,
like friends who were either single or friends who were problematic. They if we went out together with them, they wanted us to be fighting, and I mean they didn't want us to work. So
yeah,
we actively just sort of stay away from those people. So it's like uh, I would go on a couple date with you. That would be fine. But if somebody else was to ask and I didn't like how the way they treated us, or then it'd be a no. So I sort of like pick and choose really on who to hang out with. Really,
can you be in a relationship though? And like, I never understood the idea of like you have to be fully fulfilled before you can be in a relationship, and I don't think that makes any sense. I feel like if you're in a relationship, there's something if there is something to gain from that relationship, then by definition, you gaining something means that you were lacking in something that you just got.
but do you mean fully fulfilled? Like I need to have had quite a lot of sex. I need to have
Huh.
traveled the world, and then therefore now I can be in a relationship.
No, I mean like you're fully like comfortable with yourself and stuff like that.
Um, but is that ever possible now? Like
Yeah.
when you like when you come to a new bridge, like everything you do in your life, you come to a new bridge, don't you? It's like I feel like
Yeah.
if you go to a new country, it's like how do I get from the airport to the hotel? And you feel uncomfortable and you don't feel good. So I don't know if you're ever really gonna. Yeah, we change daily as well, don't we? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I never understood the what do you call like these are the terms and conditions before you get in a relationship. I never thought that made any sense
I,
either. But
I don't think you should think at all really to get into a relationship. Like
no.
I think the people that do plan, and I think the people what date off statistics or whatever. You got to do a bit of statistics. Like for example, if I ever this is going to sound quite harsh, but if I ever went single now, I probably wouldn't date anybody younger. Like I've decided now I want to date somebody my own age or older because it works out better for me. Unless that younger person was up to the what I thought they could be. So yeah, I think you rule things out, but yeah, I don't think you can ever really be prepared for anything, really, can you? And when you go into a relationship, I don't think you ever really know what you're getting yourself into, really.
What next topic? I think the relationship. I think we've explained it all. That
We're going through it
needs to be.
all. I have written some points down here, but I think we've literally kind of covered them all in like little micro ways.
Yeah, yeah. Leave it to a person to like come to their own conclusions.
Yeah.
No, it's really weird. You ever like go out in public and you can see people seeking relationships?
Yeah, all the time.
Like I was at a thrift store and I was like standing there looking at this was yesterday, and I was looking at all the electronics. I was looking for something to break and something to have fun with, and I saw all these. I saw like women will stalk people in public. They'll like walk around them and kind of stalk them like an animal, and it's really interesting. And guys will do that too.
Mm.
And you can watch that. It's like watching prey. And sometimes you're the victim. You turn around, and then they see you, and then they
But
like walk the other way, and it's
do you do
really
that
quick.
thing when I see that happen? I always try to work out what do they see in that person. Not based off my own self. I just find it fascinating. I'm just like, why is that woman attracted to that guy, or why is that guy attracted to that woman? Like I try and work it out.
Yeah, yeah, it's really fascinating because you're like, there's something there that they saw instantly. So what did they see instantly? Can I see it? Uh, yeah, it's really strange. And then there was a guy.
So sometimes it
Like,
can be because they went to the same school, or like that person's got on the bus like every single day. It can be something like that.
well, actually, here, let's. What do you think about? I was wondering about people who are like really insecure in relationships, or like people who are like really insecure in general. And I've noticed that the way they go about relationships is very, very different. Um, for example, I know this guy who like dates larger women
Yeah.
and likes it. He loves it. And one of the things he said, like the reason he like likes it the most is he said like if you have a larger woman, the main thing you have to pay for is food. So like you can always like just take her to a new restaurant, and it's actually cheaper overall because he said I dated skinny bitches, quote unquote. I dated skinny bitches, and I always had to like buy them like expensive clothing or expensive gifts to satisfy them. But you have a larger chick, you could just take them and buy them like 3 burritos, and they'll be amazed.
I think that just sounds like a justification because I think I genuinely do believe at the end of the day, like there's such thing as this person's attractive, and if you don't think they're attractive, you're wrong. Like they might not be your type,
Yeah,
you might not feel a way, but you can objectively say that person's attractive. So it's like
yeah,
it's like you might prefer large women, you might prefer skinny women. That's all irrelevant. I think at the end of the day, you're gonna yeah, if I see an attractive woman, I'm gonna do a double take. I'm gonna be like, oh, she's attractive. I think that guy, he sounds like a lot of people aren't very honest in the world, and it sounds like yeah, he might have actually been making a very interesting observation, but I think deep down, I think it's just a justification for the fact that he wishes he was dating somebody like skinnier. Because I've got a similar story. Well, it's not really a story. It's what somebody said. I know a larger woman who hates skinny guys. Hates skinny guys, and the reason why I'm guessing the psychology behind that is because all skinny guys have rejected her, or because then they don't have weight issues. Uh, you she feels insecure. She, whatever it is. So it's like, yeah, whatever you have, it's like if you're a fan of a certain writer. I hate all the other writers. I like this film. All the other films are shit. Like it is, it's what we do. I think we just justify. I mean, I kind of do it myself when even in my relationship. It's like in my head, the girl of my dreams doesn't even exist, but I fantasize about this woman who looks this certain way and all this sort of thing. Literally a cartoon of woman. And then in my relationship, obviously, I'm dating. I don't mean this in any disrespect. Just a normal woman, like not somebody who's in my fantasies. Um, yeah, there's always part of my brain what just is just like holding out for this idea of this imaginary woman what doesn't really exist. Like I'm gonna go somewhere and I don't know, we're gonna bump into each other and it turns out we're both reading the same book, and it turns out we both have this in common, both have that in common, and she's extremely attractive, like exotic attractive. Like I mean there's a small possibility something like that could happen, but I think it's very unlikely, and I think I'm still going off point here, but I think, yeah, I guess when I write, I sort of write characters what I wish were real, or write women what I wish were real, because I don't have that in my own life. But it's not possible for me to get that in my own life. If that makes any sense, it's like if you were to say to me now, would you like to live with this is being realistic, but would you like to live with 5 women and the relationship worked and you got to have sex with 5 women? I'd be like, yeah, that sounds really good. But in actual reality, that's not going to happen. And if it did happen, it would probably be a lot of fights and it would be a disaster. And
Yeah.
so I think you just live with what you can because you're. It's like at school when you try and go for the most attractive girl and she shoots you down, and then she either loses the looks when she gets older and you're like, haha, or she dates like the most attractive person you've ever seen. And you're like, oh fuck. Um, yeah, I think for most people, we have to settle. I think we have to settle somewhere. And I think that sounds a bit like we're losing hope. But if you're not the most attractive person and you don't have money, it's like your options are going to be a lot slimmer. It's just how it is. Not always. There are obviously rare occasions to everything. Everything I'm saying is a rare occasion to it. But yeah, I think that.
See, that's why I personally I get satisfaction out of like things and like ideas and facts and science. So I learn about people through that. I don't try to learn about people directly or care about people directly. I find it interesting if like a large group does something and then I'll relate that to an individual and be like, but thank God, like I don't seek like the psychology of another person doesn't is not what like gets me off or makes me happy in life. But I saw this story that I think you might find interesting. I forgot where I saw it. It was like a movie or something, but I remembered it in the car a few days ago, and it was this woman who was in this relationship with this guy, and he wasn't abusive at all. He was just really really boring,
Mm,
but really cool, and he was just like super chill and stuff, but he was just like he would work all the time for her and stuff like that, and she was just but she was like happy. She thought he was a great guy, but she just didn't. She wasn't satisfied with
mm,
him. She was looking for somebody else, and the whole story of the point, you're like, oh my god, she's gonna go sleep with a guy. She's gonna go sleep with some guy, and she's gonna cheat on him. She's gonna sleep with a guy, and you realize like she had a coworker that was like I think it was a coworker, some lady that she knew, and she ended up finding out that she wasn't a lesbian. Like, she didn't in her head she wasn't a lesbian. She was just she found all the character traits that she was seeking for in that lady, and she ended up sleeping with that lady because she fell in love with all the character traits. Even though she wasn't lesbian, she like hated sleeping with her, but
mm,
she was needed that connection with somebody, like the body connected with everything that's in the body. She was like, you have everything in your brain that I'm looking for, and I want to sleep with your body to connect to that part of the brain. I don't know, and just like maybe imagine my husband as I sleep with you. Um, and then it turns out like the reason the woman qualified in her mind the perfect ideal that was missing in her life and qualified as that was because the woman was telling her day after day all the things that she was lacking, and so the woman just adapted into that. And that's weird because that's like actually how some relationships can work, which is like it if you say too much in the beginning you never know if the person just adapted to everything that you just said or if it's genuine, if it's like who they are. So that's why I always like to try to be as like quiet about like I'll say stories, but I'll try to always be quiet if it's like a romantic relationship about like personal qualities and stuff. I wonder if people in like relationships kind of do that. Does that make you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think everybody, I think everybody in every relationship. Obviously, this isn't a statistic. This isn't a body of work. This is just purely my own observations. So it could be wrong, but I believe that most people, everybody's fantasizing outside their relationship. I believe
Yeah.
when you see women with guy friends what are very close, I think they're keeping that guy friend close because she's fantasizing about him because her boyfriend isn't providing what she needs. So I've been that guy before. I've been the guy who's been friends with a woman. I know I've been there because to provide her with what, and I deliberately pulled myself out of the relationship. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to like sort of be a home wrecker, if you like, or whatever. And I think obviously guys have more like pornography and more that sort of thing. Um, OnlyFans now. So I think everybody. I think what happens is as well in a relationship. I think you find your comfort with somebody, and then that can be a bit vanilla or boring, and then you have to fantasize. And for myself, I've always been a dreamer anyway, so I'm always fantasized. Even now I'm in a relationship, if I go to a beach and I just see a woman walking down the beach, I picture myself walking with her,
Right.
just like talking. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think everybody is fantasizing somebody else. The only thing is to be in a loyal relationship, you just don't do anything about it unless. But I think like I've always been somebody who defends cheating on different levels. I think cheating is very interesting. I think you can cheat on somebody, um, and it kind of be not merited, but it's kind of so. Say if you've been with somebody for 10 years and you haven't had sex and the relationship's been a disaster, I understand why somebody would cheat. If let me think of another example. If say if you get into a relationship with somebody who you know plays the field, has a lot of bodies, has a lot of sex, and they cheat on you, I don't think you can be offended because you actively went to date somebody who has sex with a lot of people, and if they cheat on you, I don't think you can be offended like, oh, that sucks, but you sort of like walked into it. So I think there's different levels to if you're in a loving relationship and you're cheated on, I think that's awful, and
Yeah.
that is the worst thing. But there are different things of like, yeah, you haven't had sex in 3 years. It's I think it's more likely that those sort of fantasies become real then, because if you're in a loving relationship and you're having sex and whatever, those fantasies just sort of dissolve. Like
Yeah.
they come up. You go out somewhere and you're like, oh, that person looks amazing, and then you come back and then you're in your relationship and you have sex and that just dissolves, and then that's over. But I think, yeah, I think we're all primal, aren't we? And we're all fighting. Like maybe it is true when like maybe we shouldn't even be relationships to start off with. Maybe that's just a human construct doesn't really work, and um, yeah, maybe we try and fit each other into these homes and stuff.
Uh,
Oh,
I, I think we have to have like some kind of construct to like go for it, at least to allow it to exist.
mm,
Like a foundation. Like even if you don't follow it, you need to be able to like fall back on something to reference. It's just a reference frame. That's all. Like
yeah.
just reference frame for. It's like an axis, like a axis.
Yeah,
X Y.
it's like I couldn't walk around with like no clothes on. Not out of shame or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just like clothes, and I think when I meet somebody, I want them to have clothes on. If you know what I mean, like I don't. So yeah, we do need that sort of stuff. It kind of just stop us from, I guess, anarchy.
Yeah. I've always found it fascinating too. Like there's types of relationships where people who are like they go out in public and it's usually the woman because the woman can actually get away with it. Um, but where the guy is like standing there with a beer or or something, or he's just sitting there and
Like standing like this.
yeah, yeah, and watches, and he's just watching his wife gracefully flirt with other guys, but he doesn't like mind it. In fact, he kind of enjoys seeing the play.
Mm,
It's like putting your Rottweiler on someone, being like, "Go, sick him! Like, let
yeah.
me see the show." And it's really strange to see that. And I don't know. I mean,
But do you think that comes out of boredom as well? Like they've been in a relationship too long, and he's happy to sort of watch her. Again, it goes back to like destruction of relationship. You go like if you think of like a cook, uh, he wants to see her have sex with other men or flirt with other men because he's bored of the relationship, or he generally just gets off on the fact he has something shiny what other people want.
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's just curiosity, maybe.
It's okay. I need to go to sleep in a minute. I'm very tired.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's not you. It's a
Okay.
long day. I
I
got I
think I
got
think
I got up very early to do like a run,
yeah.
like a 10K. So I've been up like for a long time.
I son of a bitch. I can't run like that anymore.
No,
I
I'm
can
I'm not
run,
I'm
but
not a
not
great
like
runner. I could be a great runner. I've got like
yeah,
that athletic blood, but
yeah,
there's just so much shit happening in life. I just do it for fun now.
yeah, yeah. I hate it's weird. I'll like be in the gym and I actually don't like it. I find it more uncomfortable when I'm in the gym and I'm running and the person next to me is like not, even though I'm not doing anything like have my headphones, I don't like it when they don't have their headphones
Mm.
because then I feel like we can hear each other
Yeah,
way too.
I do that. If I'm patting somebody and I'm listening to music quite loud, I'll turn it down in my pocket because
Yeah,
I don't want them to listen to what I'm listening to because there can
yeah,
be some like because I've got a very like music taste, and
yeah,
it can sometimes be the Spice Girls. I mean, because I like the energy of the Spice Girls, and I'll be running and I'll pass like a group of lads. And I'd be like, I can't listen to the Spice Girls and passing these guys, so I just turn
yeah,
it down. If I'm listening to rap
yeah,
music, it's fine. I'll keep it loud because it's like, like I can get away with it. But
yeah,
yeah, it's same if like I'm driving and then I pull up near some traffic lights. I'll turn the music down a little bit. I was listening. I don't know if you
yeah.
heard it, like 212. It's got the C word in it a lot. It's just like it's just a woman just repeating saying, "I'm getting my eaten." Like tonight, I'm gonna get my and we pulled up and it was like the school run, so like kids crossing the road, there were like families on the side, so I just like turned
Yeah.
it down as fast as I could.
Oh, dude. Yeah, yeah. That at least means you're polite. Yeah. I like to blast classical music in like my the red truck, and I just like driving around really like rapidly in the neighborhood.
I'll do that if I'm feeling myself. I'll drive around like blaring music.
Yeah,
But I think it's the day. In the day, I don't feel very like secure. But at night, I'll do that shit.
yeah, yeah. It feels like at least you have respect. That's a good sign that you're at least respectful to other people, considerate. A lot
Yeah,
of people are
I've always
not.
been that person. Like when my mates were like messing around and we were doing something destructive, I would always like I don't know. Say if my friend threw like a glass in the middle of the street, I would
Yeah,
always just like sweep it into the side of the road.
yeah.
Not like pick it up, but I'll just like put it into the side of the road. So I've always like
You wouldn't stop him from doing it either.
I wouldn't stop anybody from doing it, and I've done some really dumb things myself. But at the same time, I try and make sure nobody's like I mean, I've literally got my friends out of like quite severe jams where like there's been a fight was about to happen, and I use this is how I end up thinking that like intelligence is more powerful than like violence because my
Yeah,
friends were about to get into a fight, and the guy came up to me and he's like, "Where's that guy gone?" I'm like, "Oh, he's gone outside." And then I didn't even start with my friend. I just walked to my friend and I went, "Oh, do you want to go to the next door bar, like through the back?" And
yeah.
so and so's happened, and we just went through the back, and the fight never happened. So I'll you know yeah I'll do that sort of thing really.
That's good.
Mm,
That's a nice little story.
mm.
I think I don't know, man. Ooh.
I've been talking for a while. We're,
Yeah, I feel like I'm like woo,
this would be the part if we were like really like one on one. This would be the part where we're just like would walk in silence or would you know what I mean? You're
yeah,
in like you're like a cafe with somebody and you just like the conversation's been going for quite a while and it's like then you just have like half an hour you just sort of sit in silence and you just like look around and
yeah, yeah. That's well. It's not good to talk all the time. You have to like I think pausing is actually really important.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's something I'm trying to do is learn how to pause, but I've just got very like I get very excited like about communication. It's one of my favorite things. Um, but I think if you was to be around me a lot longer, you would find me. I'll get quieter and quieter and quieter.
yeah,
It's like when I first meet somebody, I just like I'm very excited and I want to talk about as much as I can, and
yeah.
then once like everything's exhausted, so I'm actually in like real life. I'm not this in real life, but in real life, I'm a very very quiet person, like very quiet. Um,
Right.
and then like when I come to meet people, like I can be very talkative.
I'm the opposite. I will talk a lot because I'll have ideas that'll pop up, and I'll be like, I'm not gonna write this down, so you have to hear this.
Mm.
And it's like you could be doing anything. Like I'm gonna tell it to you. Like I don't care where you are. I'm gonna say it. Like you're gonna have to hear this because I don't want it to like be missed or something.
Yeah,
And I would want the other person to do the same.
yeah, I get it.
But
We should do another video on like you said
yeah,
you want to
I'm
do one on
working on it.
science, didn't you?
You said what?
You say you want to do one on science.
Yeah, I think it'd be really like I don't know like anything. And I don't mean that as like a uh weird kind of like okay, so I had this friend that like knew about like science like uh where he's an engineer engineering student, and he knows he like always talks about the statistic of like uh I forgot what it's called, but it's like a graph, and it says like typically the more that somebody thinks they know, the less they actually do know, and then the more that
Mm-hmm.
they think they don't know, the more they actually do know, because there's a curve where it goes like this, where you think you know a lot, but you really don't, and then it goes up where your actual knowledge, like your confidence goes down, so it's negative, uh, but like your knowledge actually goes up, but then your knowledge kind of plateaus a little bit, and then you're the way as much as I don't know. I'm
No,
like fucking with
I have that with chess. Like
yeah,
in my head, I'm a really good chess player. I can beat
yeah,
anybody around me. But if I was to play like a professional, I'd completely lose all confidence, and then I'd think I'm like
yeah.
completely useless.
No, but he used that fact as like a thing, as to be like, oh, I don't know anything, as like to be like, yeah, which means I know a lot, because he knew that we knew that statistic, so he would
Yeah,
use that to like. It was weird, but
yeah.
it's true. It's also true. Like we really don't. We as just people don't know too much, but yeah, it's like science. I think art and science, like we could talk about that. I think there has to do the idea like there's a reason metaphors exist and similes, because there's an underlying logical structure that exists just in the world.
Mm.
Like the same way that you can get art from reality, you can get reality from art, and vice versa. It's just like they work together. There's like some kind of weird logical foundation about things that allows us to be able to describe it in the first place.
Do you believe there's like an objective truth? Like no, not an objective truth. Do you believe there is a truth? Everybody has their own objective truth, but there is actually a truth. For example, I can use a film example to sort of explain what I'm saying. Um, I believe factually, The Godfather is a good film, a great film, maybe even a masterpiece. I believe that's a fact. But then, of course, everybody can have their own objective standpoint. And like, I don't think it's very good or whatever, or it's But I think they're wrong. So I think there are truths what are real, and then I think it's very hard for people to get their head around. But I think there are truths.
No, I think there's actually an argument to that in philosophy. It says that if you think that something is something, then the fact that you think that is true, and a truth cannot come from something that's false. So a truth can only come from another truth, which is logically true. So therefore, something within that truth, that the fact that you believe that is true, something also within that has to be true. So what would that be? And it would probably be the fact that Godfather has to be, there's something about it that makes it a good film, and then so on and so forth. You keep picking it up
Yeah,
because truth has to come from truth. So
that's what I mean. But that's what I'm saying. But then wouldn't
there's
it actually be true that The Godfather's a good film no matter what? Then, like, if, for example, if somebody was to say now The Godfather is a bad film because the lighting's bad, that's just so far from the truth. Because The Godfather is famous for like the best lighting, some of the best lighting there is.
I think it's true to, it would be true to within like the context of you, but that also is true. That's like set theory. Like set theory is like that. You can put things in the sets and be like, not everything.
But
You can have subsets of
but,
stuff,
but,
and that's totally that have their own rules.
but that's not even from me though. That's like I think that's like quite a big like a big amount of people would think would probably consider The Godfather lighting to be true, and then I think you could break it down, explain why, because it's all candlelit. There's a lot of candlelight.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, we're describing two different ways then. I was thinking like you were trying to describe it almost objectively, like it was like
No, that's what I'm saying.
like
I'm saying like
purely
there
without
there is a truth, but then people don't acknowledge it and they try and find their own truth, even though it doesn't exist because there's an overriding truth.
okay. You're trying to describe it with people, right? Not like without people.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's a different. Yeah. I mean I don't know. I really have to think more on that. I think that my brain is not in that mindset right now.
Yeah,
I think.
you need to go hit your friend up.
Yeah, my brain is kind of fried. I need to go like burn something. I need to go be a sexual deviant. And like set something on a flame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like shitty sleep, man. I just like I keep fucking like staying up until like 3 a.m, and it's no, I mean I think we should do another one where it's more like fresh mind and try to shoot for another like few hours, if not even more, because I'll have soon. I'm gonna go to the new apartment and I'm gonna be there, and I'll have a lot more time until August 18th. So I'll have in a few weeks a lot of time to be able to like put like look at some ideas and try to extrapolate and then like add them to a paper, and then we can have a better, more. I think the conversation was good.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think it was solid. I think we could cut probably this part out that we're mentioning.
Oh no, if you're weird like me, this might be the best part.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, who knows?
Because I like it when people like drop the act and then you like they stop talking and they're more themselves, and I can relate even a bit more.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's like you close the door and you're like, oh, and you just like,
Yeah.
oh, they got like after a date, you're just like, I'm gonna go in the next room and powder up, and then you go in the next room and she just hears you like fucking farting so loud, like super loud, and she's like, huh?
Yeah.
Fucking walls are vibrating. Like,
The true demon inside of us.
yeah. Exactly. Sometimes a nice one. Yeah. Like the idea of I'm gonna beat the devil out of you. It's like how can you do that? How's that even possible? You know, either I am the devil, either I'm the evil. If I'm not the evil, why are you beating me? How are you beating the devil out of me? You're hurting me. So if I'm, it doesn't. Yeah.
The devil
So
in disguise.
Dad, why are you beating me? Yeah.
All right then. Let's part ways then.
Yeah. Nothing to do with you. I feel like I have an obligation to this guy.
Yeah, I get it. Always keep your obligations.
Yeah. I want to be respectful to both parties. But this is fun. This is a good conversation.
Yeah. It's been great.
It was a good combination. I hope it was good for you. Like,
yeah, it's great.
I hope it was good for you.
I'll write your review after.
Okay, cool. Is you gonna post it on your thing or?
Yeah, it's on my channel. I might do it like Wednesday or something like that. I'm away for like most of the month, so I need to do it like tonight.
yeah, cool. Take your time, man. we'll set up another thing, and I'll do the thing where I share like some more stuff with you, and then we can go back and forth, try to build like different topics, and then we'll try to do it again.
Nice.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Take
If
care,
you
man.
want. Yeah.
Take
See you,
care.
brother.
See you later.
Yeah.